again. We're back again with Pastor Ben Strong.
Yes,
totally honored to have him here in the studio.
Thank you.
Here it's on a cold February day in 2014. But we've been talking about praise and worship music. Pastor Ben is an awesome worship leader, keyboard player, and singer.
Thank you.
And so we've brought the expertise into the studio to get some questions that I'm sure you'd love to hear the answers to. We'll just cut right to the chase here, and we're going to talk about praise and worship teams today a little bit, and preparing for that. Let me ask you, how do you prepare your set list for praise and worship for a service there?
I'm preparing my set list. A lot of times, it happens just throughout the week. If I feel like the Lord is speaking something to my heart, maybe we're on a certain theme. Maybe there's some songs that seem to be really resonating with the congregation that's just kind of the song for the time. And then a lot of times I'll just sit down for a time of prayer and to really focus my heart on the Lord and just say, all right, God, what are you saying? What are you saying? What are you wanting us to sing today? What are you wanting us to sing to you? And
let me ask you a question here, because your dad is the pastor at the
Yes,
church,
sir.
and
Yes,
you're the
sir.
associate pastor here. Do you talk with him much prior to a service, or do you just feel led by the Holy Spirit as far as where you get your song selection?
for us, and again, everyone's different. Some people like to plan the songs to go along with the themes. For us, we view the worship time as primarily a time to connect with God, as a corporate body. And if he has something on his heart, he'll say, hey, I want you to do this song. For the most part, he just allows me the freedom to pray and say, all right, God, what are you saying?
If you're led by the Spirit, he's led by the Spirit. It's the same Spirit.
God should be saying the same thing. Yes, sir.
That's for sure. That's for sure. Do you have a sort of a format that you go by, like 2 songs, too fast, too slow, or how do you come up with how you want to start off the service?
That's a good thought. Again, a lot of times it kind of depends on what we feel like the Lord's saying. Typically, we're going to start with a couple of praise songs, and then transition into some slower worship songs. Typically, we may throw a hymn in there. And really, I don't know. Those, it's maybe starting like that. It's just kind of a way to bring people in, bring us together, and kind of focus us.
Okay. Do you take requests?
I do actually. For us, again, I really feel like the job of worship leaders to be on the spiritual journey with the church. And so, people will email me, hey, have you learned this song? Or, I've had this song on my mind, and I welcome that. I tell the congregation, I certainly welcome that. And if I feel that on my heart, I feel like that goes along with the direction, we'll do that. Because I think that's important. Again, if God's saying something to me about the congregation, he should be speaking the same thing to them. Yeah.
Good. Let me ask you this. How do you guys learn your songs? Because you've got pretty much a full band, do you not? A drummer, keyboard player, and that sort of thing. How would you go about learning a new song?
For us, I'm going to send out YouTubes. I'm going to send out a lot of YouTubes of maybe new songs. And then, of course, we always download them. I want to encourage you to do that. If you're using other people's songs, don't just send out YouTubes. Download their songs. So that way, they're getting blessed. Yeah. They're getting blessed by what you're doing. So we always download the iTunes, and I'll put those onto a CD, have those ready for the worship team, send those home with them, and then maybe send out some YouTube so they can watch other musicians playing those songs or listen to those. And then we'll come together and practice those maybe over several weeks. And sometimes if it's something I feel like we all have a handle on, we'll practice it. And if it flows, we'll do that.
That's where your skill level comes in.
Yes, sir. And everyone's
if you're
different.
a good band, you can go ahead and just knock it out probably that same day.
Yes, sir. And everyone's different. Understand that.
Right. Do you have to find that you have to change keys on some of these songs, to match your voice, or do you try to stay faithful to the song?
For us, again, this is something I've changed over the years. Used to, we just kind of went at it, Here lately, I guess after hearing a few songwriters and being, listening to their hearts or being in meetings with them, I've wanted to stay more faithful to the songs. So if we can at all, we're going to stick to that key as much as we can. I've heard that 3 half steps either way. And you can kind of keep the integrity of the song. Okay. But that's kind of where we're at.
Do you find that keeping songs in a certain key is beneficial for the congregation?
I think that's a great question. For me, I'm going to sing pretty high. And if I sing high enough, it's good for some of the ladies, maybe not as good for the men. For us, and for me, where I'm at, I've got to do what's comfortable for me. And then in the congregation seems to flow around that. Some people, really say we want to make the keys really singable, and you can look online. There's ranges, that are really singable for everyone. For us, it's comfortable wherever I or have several other people that can that do lead songs. I want them to be comfortable, and if they're comfortable, the Spirit of God's going to flow through that, and the congregation will take on to that.
Let me ask you another question here, because I know you've got some serious keyboard skills here.
Thank you,
Great
sir.
singer too.
Thank you.
How complex do you think a worship song can get? Do you think that you can just be playing too much, or do you think there's instances where you can use advanced keyboard skills that you might have?
That's a good question. And I've heard this. You may get churches, maybe in Nashville or places like that, where all the guys are, session players.
Road, yeah.
And they're, certainly the quality of the music, and because you have a larger demographic of musicians, they're going to be inspired, if you would, by that kind of thing, drawn in by that kind of thing. For us, I say keep it simple. I want to say play only what you need to play is what we would say.
Right.
We wouldn't say, we would just say play as much. Find that line, and this is how much needs to be played, and don't go any further than that. Unless, of course, it's a time when you're soloing or an interlude where it's just kind of we're given to that kind of thing, or maybe it's just an instrumental time where people are worshiping. But yeah, I would certainly say, strip it down. Find only what needs to be played. Stay there, and that's going to be comfortable for the congregation, I think.
Okay. I have the opinion that I see a lot of praise teams to where I think if they just took that advice that you just said, their quality of music would go up so much more.
Skyrocket, yeah.
And so, meaning like at the end of every measure, that's not necessarily the time to put in your best drum fill.
Right.
And that's
right.
not your best time to do your guitar turnaround, and that's not your best time for the bass player to, because if you all do it at once there, then basically you've got this big conglomeration of everything happening at the end of every fourth measure or whatever.
Right.
So I think I always like to say music is just arranging space around a couple of notes.
That's
there.
good. That's a good thought. I like that. And I will say this, being around musicians, when I've had the chance to be around, players that play more and more professionally, I'm always shocked at how simple they play. Mm-hmm. And I've even had the opportunity to be, around some of these guys as they warm up. Their warm-ups are out of this world. They're just really fast riffs and scaling and, just intense things. But when they get on stage, man, it's solid. It's solid. And I would much rather have a solid player than a guy that can play everything and does. So that's just my thoughts.
That's great. I know that you've kind of gone a little bit towards some of the higher end technical stuff with some of your services. You're using click tracks.
Yes, sir.
And Ableton Live.
Yeah.
Have you found that to really be a big help in your services and as far as leading with the music?
Yeah, for us, it's been, we took a while to transition to click tracks. All your musicians will need to have headphones or ears, whether you do headphone amps or you get more complicated systems that are out there, AVM, those kinds of things. But it's really helped us to stay on the groove of the song, and especially when you're hitting those 90 to 110 ranges, the groove can fall off real fast.
Now, are you turning the click tracks on and off? Are you the one that controls the click track?
For now, that's me. On Ableton, I encourage you can go on to a free download of Ableton. Tons of videos, even on how to construct worship sets on there. But you can, set the keys, assign keys on your keyboard, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, for the first, second, third, and fourth song. And you just hit those and space bar when you end. But for us, it's become real natural. It's just become part of what we do.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's great. Do you feel that if you did not have a drummer, would you still use a click track, or do you find that you like the click track for the drummer, or how are you specifically using the click track? Is it for the whole band or for the drummer?
The click track really is for the whole band, because I'm going to find it's important for the keyboard and the organ player and the guitar and the drums, for everyone to be in sync, and that's what it's for. We're the only people that hear it, and it just really keeps us in sync. I would say, if I can kind of bridge to some of the things that we talked about earlier about loops and things like that. If I didn't have a drummer, I would certainly, there's so many opportunities for like using backing tracks. You can use them on a computer. You can play them off your iPad. A lot of the places that are making backing tracks now, you can just play them right off your iPad or even your iPod. If we didn't have a drummer, I would certainly go that direction. Sure.
Well, that's great. I know we're going to record and create some
I'm looking
today,
forward
so
to that.
That's
We're
going to be
do
a
some
lot
work.
of fun here.
Yeah.
And I know there's going to be people that want to know, how do we create these, and
Yes, sir.
and really getting down to the technical edge. How do you actually use those live? I'm assuming you put those all into your computer and then you trigger them live, and
Yes,
then
sir.
it goes over everybody's headsets and everything.
Yes, sir. We're right now we use a dual out of the computer. You can use your interface, which I generally recommend that, and you'll run one line of your click, and you'll run that to everybody's ears, and then you'll run a backing track or a loop out to the main system, and so that your sound man can adjust those as needed to be. But it just it just adds a little bit. And if you're interested in this stuff, I would just say to start where you're at. Just start where you're at and begin to learn. If you have someone on your team that's computer savvy, maybe pass them along. Say, hey, what do you think about these things? And just begin to grow. It's always good to expand.
All right, all right. Well, I really appreciate you spending the time. You don't know how honored we are to have you here today.
Oh man,
You're a
it's
true
good.
friend too, and that's
Yes,
what makes it special here.
Yeah.
But at any rate, that's all we've got time for today. Please subscribe to the channel.
Sure.
There's going to be a lot of great videos coming up. Pastor Ben, I thank you so much.
Thank you, man. I've enjoyed it. Yeah.
You take care.